Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, happy Monday. It's technically Thursday. For those of you watching live, Monday. For those of you listening on your favorite podcasting outlet, welcome into the DisFluencers podcast. It is Dave, again, of Brandy and Dave. Ready to talk Disney creation. A lot of TikTok, I have a feeling, and some podcasts with our guest tonight. Our guest tonight is Adriane Drunk Distory on the TikTok and of the Dark Ride podcast. Adriane, welcome in. Happy Thursday. Thanks for joining us here on.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Dave.
Dude, I'm excited. So look, we kind of met through mutual friends here. You graciously came on. You are a podcast veteran. We can start there with the Dark Ride, which frankly I am super pissed off that you took that name because it's a fantastic podcast name in the Disney community. So what?
Thank you. I thought of it when I was
you were
drunk.
There you go.
Well, I mean, Ryan and I, my co-host, we were drinking when we came up with the whole idea of our podcast. And I went to I remember going to we were trying to think of a name, and I went to the bathroom, and then I came back and I was like, so why not the Dark Ride? Really? Okay. It was that simple.
That's fantastic. So you've been doing the Dark Ride with Ryan for how long now?
Over 3 years.
That's awesome. Weekly, correct?
Yeah.
So we are at 150
every Wednesday. Yeah. We've never missed. That. Knock on Formica. We've never missed.
Listen. Consistency is the most important thing with podcasting. I have not missed a podcast in 8 weeks. I missed about 2 years in between episodes 25 and 26, but we'll talk about that later. Stupid COVID. So
it's okay.
Was this something that came out of that time, out of the COVID times, the pandemic, or was it something that's kind of been an idea you've had for a while?
We started it 1 month before COVID, so we did not. It was yeah.
That's fantastic.
It was February 2020. And I remember we recording together in the same room, maybe like 5 episodes. And then immediately it was right into like recording like you and I are right now. So it's, I mean, it's kind of a COVID podcast, but it wasn't meant to be. It wasn't, we were literally doing it because we wanted to.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. Cause I mean, we all know there was a lot of personal content creation coming out around a plethora of topics, right? Disney being one of them. The explosion of TikTok, the explosion of the not that streaming gaming wasn't big prior to, but it got super big.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the podcast itself, why don't you tell people a little bit about it, what you guys focus on when it comes to Disney, and that like.
We wanted to play a game. We knew that. We didn't want to just sort of we did about what was going on in the like current events. We wanted it to be sort of evergreen. So like if you listen to it at any moment, it wouldn't, like, you could listen to an old episode and you wouldn't feel like, oh, that was then. So we thought, like, what if we played a game? And then we were at a bar when we did this, and we just got a napkin and we started like just writing down like what would be a good drinking game to do. And we came up with this idea of like ranking Disney things, through a series and fun rounds while drinking. And yeah, and I really like our game. We've been able to adapt it. We started with just rides, so just be like doing every ride, but eventually you kind of run out of rides, you could. So now we've ranked like we're hotels we've been doing for a while. We did the World Showcase. We'll even like rank restaurants. We've done that. We're still doing that. So yeah, it's basically but then we call them like at the bar, where we will just like talk about like stuff and or different topics. Like we just did an episode on Princess Week, because it was Princess Week, and who knows what that means. And we just kind of like talked about the different cupcakes that they put out for events like that. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and we genuinely enjoy it. Like we both love talking to each other about Disney, so it just makes for we're co-workers. Myself and became friends, so we work together. And we would talk about Disney all day long in the office. Not all day long. Oh my, I'm going to get fired.
Right.
Not all day long. Like when we would see each other. And then so it became this thing where once we had a podcast, and we'd start talking about Disney and be like, save it for the pod. Like every time we'd run it, like we'd see each other in the office. So now it's mainly on the podcast that we talk about Disney. But yeah, we really enjoy doing it. So I don't see us stopping anytime soon. I think you guys would like it. It's called The Dark Ride.
Yeah, definitely check it out. It will be linked in the show notes.
Yeah.
It's go ahead. I'm sorry.
And just because it's a drink, like we're having a drink now while I'm talking to you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Just because it's a drinking podcast doesn't mean you have to drink. And I will say, I'll tell you something inside, a secret, Dave.
Inside baseball right here?
We're not always drinking. Yeah, we're not always drinking. We'd probably have a problem. Most of the time I have a Diet Coke or a water. So it's
all good.
Every couple of episodes we actually are. You can tell when we are.
It is pretty funny because I can tell on vlogs when like, let's say you go and it happens to be a festival and you're walking around World Showcase and you're not necessarily drinking around World Showcase, but you're trying to do a review of multiple booths and you're doing an alcoholic beverage from each. And about the fifth one, you're like, yeah, everything's great. It's fantastic.
It does sort of warp your senses a little bit. So,
a little bit.
You can't always trust a review when you've had a few.
No, but I trust it anyways, because I'll still say that there's some really good food that I've had drunk that will always hold up. Not at all. but that's so I was gonna say, I think I like the fact that there's a different take to the pod, right? Like you have an idea. You have a central theme to it besides just the fact that it's Disney. There's enough places to go and get news. And like you said, you always want to throw an opinion out occasionally, right? In my eyes, I like to rant a lot just because it's a hobby of mine, I guess. But but I love the fact that there's a central theme outside of Disney and it's not just a standard. And I'm not trying to be a turd. People do it well and people do the new stuff well, but there's a lot of them. So it's a great way to
differentiate. There's a lot and people want the news. Like you definitely see even with social media, like people like you'll be scrolling TikTok and you'll constantly see like breaking Disney news. That seems to be the phrase that people use, but you'll see like 10 people in a row do it. Like you'll be scrolling and it's like after a while it's like, is it really breaking if everybody's breaking it? I don't know. But so we didn't feel like we could really add to that. I don't have any insider things. Not that I think anybody does. I think all the news that they find out, we could easily find out as quickly as they do. But I didn't want to be like monitoring Disney's website or that just be the only thing that we talk about. It's like how many times the milkshake that's at Epcot right now.
The pickle milkshake.
I don't think no one needs to hear my opinion on that because they've heard everyone else's.
See, I'm with you on that, and like I'm cool with giving an opinion on stuff. But like you, I'm not a local, so it's hard to be. And I don't want to say first because everyone there's especially in the vlogging community, there's a lot of like I'm going to put my vlog out first because I think that's better. I don't agree with that philosophy, but my thing is that I'm there once a year, so I might get lucky and something drops at that time, and then I will embrace it. But I'm still going to do it my own way, which is more of a family style, trip style vlog, as opposed to breaking news. Dave rode a ride with 1,000 people.
Right. And also, like, it's only to me really breaking news if it's actually something very interesting. Like when
Right.
Bob checking news, but like there's a cupcake. I don't find that to be like, I've never, as someone that isn't a local, I've never like seen a video, someone telling me there's a new cupcake and been like, now I've got to go to Disney because there's a new cupcake at the Magic Kingdom. Like I've never had that happen. So it doesn't feel breaking to me.
I would like, and this is the second reference to a cupcake, I would like Disney to figure out a different damn dessert besides a cupcake. I'm over cupcakes.
Dude, valid. I agree with that. Why is everything, you know what, it's easy.
Exactly.
That's what it is. It's just like, well, we could just change if it's Tiana's birthday, we make the frosting green and, you know, bada bing, bada boom. Like that's it. I think that's why it's low hanging fruit.
A jambalaya flavored cupcake. Like
I would love that. A savory cupcake? Come on,
dude. Actually,
why are there no?
You're right. A savory cupcake would finally be something different. Everything else is like a yellow cake or a chocolate cake cupcake with whatever icing that makes it look okay, and then they might put a little candy that they printed something on it. Like, I don't get it. I don't need those, and frankly, I don't need popcorn buckets, and I don't need sippers. But
I agree with you. I agree. Yeah,
I know people collect them, and I'm cool with that.
I think I'm just kind of like, there's no way I could collect them. I live in a studio apartment in Queens, New York, and like that would be taking up real estate that I just don't have. Like, I think it's a storage thing. It's like I couldn't like have a million popcorn buckets around here. Like I'd literally be the little old lady that lived in her shoe, but instead of a shoe, it's a popcorn bucket. Like that would be who I was if I collected those.
Now, Disney makes a popcorn bucket that is the little old lady that lives in a shoe. Will you get that popcorn bucket and live in it? That's the
now I have to.
Exactly. I think
and even with the lounge flies, like people collect the lounge flies and they have these walls of mini backpacks. Like you walk into their house and it's like you wonder if it's just like I don't know, a store for Keebler elves. Like it's just mini backpacks everywhere. And I'm like, I can't. I have too many backpacks. I'm like, that's all I could have. I can't have more than that.
I understand collecting things. I like collecting pins that I enjoy. I'm not like the completionist. Trust me. Actually, let me rephrase. I am a completionist, so I stay away from actually collecting pins. But if it means something to me, right? If we stay at a resort, I will buy one. That's where I'm at. I don't fault anyone for collecting popcorn buckets. What I fault is Disney putting out a car and a train that aren't a popcorn bucket, that is a holder for a paper popcorn container that you get that you normally throw away. Like, this has been my latest rant. It pisses me off. At least put the effort in to making a bucket which holds popcorn. Let's start there.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I just saw that Mr. Toad. Well, I saw that Mr. Toad one. It's just a car, and then we see the one that's going on right now. The what is it? It's the mayor's car from Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah, it's not a popcorn bucket. I think it's just using them as like home decor or as like a cute way to dress up an outfit, but it's not a popcorn bucket.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at. I mean, look, again, Disney has a boatload of different collectibles, so to each their own. But
you mentioned the pins, and I have to say, like, that one, you know, it's not as cumbersome. Like if you want to buy pins, you can easily put them in your bag. I'm like, oh, that's a nice sort of thing to collect where it's not like you're not like, I don't want to get into that. That's a very expensive,
Oh yeah.
like, and I don't, and I'm like, I don't know what, I've never understood the point of them. Like I see people have
Right.
like books of pins, and like you talk about the completionists, like they have to complete the sets or whatever,
Yeah.
and like that just sounds very stressful to me.
So I collected lapel pins before collecting lapel pins was cool. Like, but it's like so hipster of me to do this, and I really, really hate having this conversation. But like, I'm talking when I was 12 and 13 and went to the parks. Before you could trade pins, like back in the early 90s, I just thought that there were some cool pins. And I want to say it was Brazil 90, was it 94 when Brazil had the World Cup?
I don't know, Dave. I wasn't
I don't
born.
know.
I'm just
Well,
kidding. I don't. I was definitely born.
damn.
I don't know, but you're referring to them as lapel pins.
Yeah,
Is
so
that a
because that's what they
is
were.
that a bougie way to?
No, that's what they technically are, is a pin that you would put on your lapel of your jacket, right? So like the little flag pins, like a little like
Yeah, yeah.
American flag pin. So like that's what they were. And then they just became trading pins at the end of the 90s, early 2000s. And they started these sets. Now the issue is if they only had so many sets and it was reasonable to collect them, I'm okay with it. Like they had these big, they weren't massive, but they were one of the first like larger than just a 50-cent piece pin, and they were the four the four paintings from the stretching room, but they were with the Fab Five, and they were
Oh,
fantastic, and they were done in the
that's kind of
same die
cool.
press. Yeah, they were awesome. I wish I would have bought all four. I bought one because I thought that it was the coolest one that I saw, and I don't know. I might have been, well, that might have been later in life, to be honest. That might have been the first time we took our daughter. At any rate, but I bought one. I wish I would have bought all four because that set goes for about $380 right now on eBay.
Oh,
It's crazy. I wouldn't sell it, but yeah, I mean, I probably would. But like, I just get attached to, or I look for pins that mean something to me, right? So if we stay at the Polynesian and it was, our first family trip of X, then cool, I'm going to buy a pin there. But there are so many people that are like, okay, they came out with a new tomato set. This is an actual thing. They're little tomatoes that are colored differently that represent different classic films.
princesses.
No, that too,
Oh,
but classic film. It was like Pinocchio and whatever. And I'm like, I can't do that because I would get that and the other 47 sets that they came out with in 2017.
right.
So I can't. But at least it's not something big. At least it's not, like lounge flies. Like I love lounge flies from a um it, like from a capacity that you can show you can find one that is one of your likes, right? Like the Ahsoka one that just came out looks really damn cool. Awesome. But I don't know why you need 187 of them. And I'm not talking about people that collect them. I'm talking about Disney putting them out. I know why. They're $90 each. But
Of
I digress.
course.
Right.
And like I saw the other day, I was scrolling Instagram and I saw like I feel like they're really reaching for characters to make these lounge flies out now. Like
I think they are.
they had Prince Eric's dog Max as a lounge fly, and I'm like, who is saying favorite character Max, Prince Eric's dog, and I need to wear him on my back.
I know.
I think it's like a cosplay sort of thing, but I I saw that and I'm like, it's very cute, but it's like they're really trying to make every single thing into a
Yeah.
backpack now. It's
It,
wild.
it's not I mean it's not it's not just cosplay, it's Disney bounding. So I'm going to go as the Little
Right.
Mermaid or I'm going to go as Eric and I'm going to have my dog on my back. That's just what it is. So I get that. But my thing is these cost $90 each. And if you're going to collect all of them, you could take that $1,000 that you spent on 10 of them and get yourself a damn good bag from Louis, or even if you wanted to stay Disney, like the Dooney and Burke whole lines that they have are a
Hmm.
little more subtle Disney and you can get like what do they call them? They look
Camera
like
bag?
yeah, maybe
Or-
like like the bowling bag ones, like the purses that are kind of like arched over. I don't know. All I know is that
I
they're
don't even know.
$289, and I buy one for my wife every so many years. That's just what happens. So that's where I'm at.
I get that. I bought the when the Coach had the collab.
Yeah.
For the 50th, I got it's called the camera bag. That's why I said that.
Okay.
And I
Sorry.
was like, this is nice. This is something that's like it's Coach, so it's like a good. It's gonna like it's not overtly Disney.
Yeah.
It's more subtle. I kind of like that. I
Mhm.
dig that vibe a little bit more than like I'm never gonna walk around with Prince Eric's dog Max on my back in New York City where I live. So
Right.
I want something that can kind of go. I can be in my regular life and in my Disney life.
Agreed. And that's kind of what I'll buy Brandy, right? And it's I know I got one and it's still in great condition. Uh it's held up well is kind of what I'm saying. Like it was made well. It was this kind of like mildly pink, sort of like sand color to it, but it had 5 keys on it, and each of those keys had a reference to one of the 5 original princesses on it. And it
Okay.
was super subtle Disney, but people that knew. And we didn't upgrade until they came out with the awesome Alice in Wonderland one because she's a huge Alice fan. So we did that, and then it's actually a drunk Distory story. I could tell it later, but we
Tell
walked.
it now.
It was our last night of our trip last summer, and my daughter and I walked over to get Blaze Pizza. We were staying at Saratoga, so we ordered pizza to go and walked over, and they were like 50 minutes behind. Of course, it was crazy. It was a Saturday night, so we're walking around, and we
Yeah.
walk into Kate Spade, and there's a on property only Alice in Wonderland set, and I'm just like, shit.
You just stepped in it.
I did, and so that was a all right. I've had 4 beers. This sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's not. Well, it's
it
nice of
came out.
you.
Yeah, and it's she's a big Alice fan, but yeah.
I'm a
So
big fan of the teacup ride. I'm not a big fan of the movie. Terrified me. The
dude,
Alice in Wonderland movie.
it's just a bad trip. The entire movie is a bad trip.
Yeah, we know what it's really about,
Yeah.
but it's like when you look at it from the adult angle, Walrus. Like, he creeped me out as a child, and I didn't know
Yeah.
why, but now as an adult, I know why, and it all makes sense. It's a really freaky movie.
It is. It's so it's really interesting because you look at what content Disney is putting out now, and you look at
Right.
what kind of that up until the mid 90s content was based on. Like Through the Looking Glass is a crazy book. Even more so, if you look at what the like original Scandinavian story of Ariel is and the Little Mermaid, it doesn't end
Yeah.
as happily as it does in the Disney universe.
No. It's more it's more like the Little Murder than the Little Mermaid. It's
100%.
like
It was a
it's
tale
not a,
to scare your daughter to make sure that she listens to her father. That's what it was. It's crazy. I don't know.
yeah. I mean,
Pinocchio.
those stories. I mean, Lewis Carroll. He was Lewis. No, he
Right.
was on some stuff, and it shows in the movies. It's just but I still think it's beautiful. So like that's why I think I like the teacup. Like I love going on the teacups. A lot of people are like, oh, it's just I feel so sick. But I mean, I don't get on there and start spinning like a maniac. I put my like kind of like now I put my arms around the cup on the side or on the rim of the cup, and I just let the ride go, and I take a bunch of photos. It's
Yeah.
aesthetically a pleasing movie, but it's a little scary.
Agreed. And teacups get a bad rap. I mean, they get a bad rap because you end up riding on it with your 2 kids, and they just continually try to spin the cup, and then you can't eat for the rest of the day. But
Well, that's why I'm a proud advocate of being a childless millennial, Dave.
well, I didn't take that advice of don't get married, don't have kids. So
No, I don't. I'm
the
not giving that advice.
yeah, the the progeny are here, and they're happily Disney nerds as much as I am too. So I at least have raised them to become
what's
their own
important.
Disney adults. Yeah, exactly. I mean, 100%.
Yeah.
So but the Teacups get a bad rap, 100%. But they're so like quintessential in everyone's Disney Disney trip, right? Like no matter what, and it's crazy to me the amount of money that people spend to go to Disney these days, and they're still gonna go stand in line for the Teacups. Like it's like, no, why would you do that? But everyone wants the damn
Well, there's
picture.
no line for the Teacups. Like you'll wait maybe five. I guess on a busy season, but like yeah, the Teacups, like the ride vehicle is a piece of like park iconography. Like whenever anyone asks me like, what if you could have like one ride vehicle, what would it be? And I'm always like the Teacup. I could put that in my apartment here. I can make it into a little like seating area. Like that's what I want.
Well, you've seen the one at Disney style at Disney Springs, right?
Yes.
Yes.
That's what I want. That's just right here in my little 350 square foot apartment. It'll be perfect.
It would take
I'll have to sleep in it, but it'll be fine.
You could make it. You could honestly make it your kitchen table. You really could.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Come on.
I think that you should do it.
Come on, Disney. If you got an extra teacup laying around, send it up here. I'll give it a nice little home.
I mean, from a maintenance standpoint, they got to change those out at some point. So
they're looking a little rough. I mean, I think, and it's one of those things where I don't know if you go on the Teacups later in the day and you get into a teacup and there's just like garbage on the floor, like like a water bottle's hitting your foot and there's like a Mickey ice cream bar wrapper and you're just like, all right, this is very magical. But
you sit down and there's a Mickey ice cream bar stick stuck to your leg now.
Oh, I do get a little skeeved out. I immediately have to like, the hand sanitizer comes out and I'm like, I don't know, should I go back to the resort and take a shower? I don't. It's a little, especially in the hot months.
Yeah, nah, you're fine. You gotta. The reason we all go to Disney is to make sure that we are exposed to all bacteria and viruses that are around that year. It's basically our flu shot. It's the way I look at it.
Okay, I get it. I mean, it definitely is a petri dish of something, and you're right. 100%. We're probably immune to everything after we go there.
More than you know. So
I think like when COVID was going on, and I was going there, open, you had to wear masks. Like it was the only time that I ever came back from Disney without getting sick, because there was so much like cleaning in place, and like you had the masks on, and that you had the hand sanitizer. But before that, like I'd always get that, they would call it like the Disney,
it's a Disney
the
flu.
Disney sinus infection. Yeah, the Disney flu or something. Yeah, I got it every time because it's just.
So I went January 2020, so literally 10 weeks before that. So I went for race weekend, and I don't know the amount of people that came out of it that probably had COVID and didn't know it, but had some semblance of a flu that just attributed it to the Disney flu, because January seems like January, February, March seems like the big ones for that. We're big summer trip people because my wife teaches, so we always go in the summer. Cold and flu season is kind of dead by that point. But you're not wrong. The amount of people that come back because of the hotel rooms, it's in the ventilation. So if you're going, take some airborne, make sure you're taking zinc every day, drink a lot of fluids.
And wash those hands.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. 100%.
That's our tips for the day.
Yeah.
Disney tips.
Yeah, I've always used the joke that I subscribe to the George Carlin method of knowing when to wash my hands, which is
I don't know that bit. Was that a big?
It was a bit. It was actually the Hudson River bit when he was talking about being tempered in raw sewage.
Oh, okay, I know that one. Yes, yes. Oh, yes. And he said he's like, that's how. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's the. You know what I know to wash my hands? When I on them. It happens tops 3 times a week.
Yeah, if I would love to have heard what he would have had to say during what his stand up would have been like during COVID times. It would have
Dude,
been really interesting.
I was lucky enough to see George Carlin in
Oh,
2002, I think, in Vegas.
nice.
Oh my god. So this is actually a great story. If you got a minute and you're a stand-up fan. So
I did stand up for about 5 years, Dave. So I'm definitely a stand up
really?
fan.
Okay,
Yes.
so this whole interview just took a random turn and we're just going with it. So
All right.
I turned 21 in 2001. My sister, unfortunately, was 17 when I turned 21, and my mother, at the time, or she's always my mother. I guess that's a really bad way to say it.
Yeah, I was
At
gonna
the
say.
time,
Okay.
yeah, my mother was a big fan of going to casinos and whatever. So I turned 21, and she's like, "Our family trip, which used to be to Disney, is now to adult Disney in Las Vegas. Let's go." So I turned 21. We go to Vegas. That year, they go see a show, whatever. We go home. We go back in 2002, and I'm living at college, and my dad calls me. He goes, "Hey, so Celine Dion just started a residency in Vegas, and your mom and sister want to go. Do you?" And it's a family trip, and I do the family thing, and I'm like, I mean, yeah, Dad,
Sure.
I'll go. And he goes, "No. Do you want to go?" And I
That's a
go,
very different
"Not."
question.
I go, "Not really." And he goes, I go, "But I'll go." He goes, "Dave, the tickets are $280 each. Do you want to go?" I'm like, "Nope, you're good.
Okay.
Save
Yeah.
the 280." So I'm trying to figure out something to do, and it just so happens that Carlin is in Vegas that weekend playing at, I forget where it was. So I ended up, my dad got me a ticket, or we got a ticket to that. I go to Carlin by myself in Vegas, and it was fantastic.
I love it.
It was half classic stuff, half I have an HBO special in 4 weeks, and I'm working on
Sure.
it right now. So it
Yeah.
was crazy good. And I don't know, it was probably, when did he pass away? Late 2000s, right? 2009, right? 2010.
Yeah. It was somewhere around there.
I don't know. Dude was fantastic. I just
He
one of
was
my favorites. He and
one of a kind.
Hedberg. Yeah, he and Hedberg.
Hedberg, yeah, me and my friends sit around quoting him. We'll just go back and forth line by line.
Yeah, same.
Like the one line king. Yeah, it's hard to write a
He
one liner. Very difficult.
he was like new age one liner, and was so good and crisp, and just the delivery was unique but impeccable, and only he could do it well. But like, to this day, when I do laundry, I literally like just turn around and to whoever's next to me, like, "Man, you must really like Tide." Like, that's it.
You just have to like. I think anytime I go on an escalator, I have to say the line of like, an escalator's never broken; it just becomes stairs.
Sorry for your
You just have to.
inconvenience.
Like, I can't stop myself.
My apartment's infested with koala bears. Oh,
Yeah, we could go on and on.
this could be the rest of the show. To be honest, it could 100%. Dude, absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
I don't remember mine. I don't. But yours sounds way better.
what's that?
Your 21st birthday.
Oh, no, it wasn't my 21st
Oh, that was your
birthday. It was just
22nd.
my
Oh,
22nd. 21st birthday was at a small bar in Punxsutawney called the Punxsutawney Hotel. That was great. So, I'm originally
is it
from
all
Punxsutawney.
just the whole theme is just like Groundhog's Day? Is that
I
what?
mean, kind
Is
of,
it?
but not
Is
really.
that what it? Okay. Yeah.
That's every Punxsutawney's dream, is to go to the Punxsutawney Hotel for their 21st birthday and only drink groundhog shots, which aren't really a thing, but it really pisses me off that they aren't now. So
They should be a thing. I mean, that's the state mascot, right? The groundhog, or no?
it's Punxsutawney's mascot.
We've got the pizza rat, and you've got Punxsutawney Phil.
Yeah.
It's,
100%. It's the only groundhog we don't shoot.
Oh,
It's true. The rest of them
I
just
didn't know.
eat
I didn't know
crops and
people
cooking.
hunted groundhogs. I didn't know that was like a thing. You go out and you shoot.
Oh yeah, they're
Oh,
they're considered vermin for crop. So they're kind of open season. So if they're on your property, people just go out. Like, I'm not kidding. It's like, what are you doing this Sunday? We're going hog hunting, and it's not hogs, it's groundhogs, and you just sit at the top of the hill with a rifle and you're picking them off at 300 yards. It's good times, great oldies.
oh, yeah. We don't do that here.
We don't do that in New York.
No, but we have been instructed to plant those red lantern things. That's our thing that we're hunting right
Dude,
now.
they're
Yeah,
terrible. They're
yeah.
out here now.
Oh yeah.
And it's crazy. It's like it's urban warfare with them. They're taking over the city and towns block by block. Like, there
Yeah.
are none where I live, but where I work, which is 10 miles away, they could overtake me and then run my business because there's so many of them.
Oh, they're so gross. And I don't like when they fly. I don't like bugs, which is why I think I could never live
Right.
near Disney. I couldn't I thought about it for a while. Like, do I want to live in Orlando and live closer to Disney? But I'm like, I don't know if I could deal with the wildlife. My parents they're like snowbirds, so they have
Right.
a house in Naples, Florida. And they've
Yeah.
got there's an alligator in the lake. There's a poisonous frog outside, and I'm like, I'm not, Steve Irwin. I'm just a regular person. I'm not gonna. I don't want to deal with this every day.
Crikey, let me jump on this python right here.
Bugs everywhere. Jeez.
Yeah. So it's I'm kind of the same way. I mean, we have some other ties here that we wouldn't necessarily bounce, but like, I'm like, I don't know if I want to move to Florida where the things that could kill you are crocodiles, or I'm sorry, alligators, crocodiles, poisonous snakes, so rattlesnakes and coral
Hurricanes.
snakes, hurricanes, pythons, freaking pythons taking over everything kind of south of Tampa. I'm not
Florida man. That's
man,
one.
which, I mean, I think if I moved to Florida, my goal would be to be Florida man at least once a year in some capacity.
You just gotta pick up some bath salts and you're halfway there.
Dude, you just lick the toads. They're the MDMA toads. Yeah, I listened to Rogan. He talked about he had someone on recently, and it was a 15-minute conversation about whether or not they were the actual toads that you could trip if you licked them, which is why the dogs love them. But it's more poisonous to the dogs than humans. So, but it's 100% like, you've seen the Simpsons episode where he licks the toad and his eyes get really big, right? Like,
yeah,
that's the toad. They introduced it to kill bugs.
I just want to meet the first guy that did that and be like, why did you do that? And
it's true.
Like, how did that get discovered? Because that's typical Florida man right there.
There's you think back, because it's been a long time, right? So you go back to like tribal humans, and it's like, did they just have some dude named Frank who's like, hey, Frank, we don't know what's going on with that toad over there, but it looks like if you lick it, you might get high. And Frank's like, I'm in. And he was like the Florida man is his descendant, right?
Yeah.
I
think he looked at the frog and thought, that looks delicious. And that's and that's even more concerning to me, because it absolutely doesn't.
Well, cocaine's a hell of a drug.
People eat frogs, though. People eat those frog legs.
Have you had frog legs?
I don't think so. I don't know, but I don't think so. How can you know? I don't know. Maybe.
It's true. They look like chicken wings. So.
I don't know. You never know. I mean, I get food delivered all the time, and I'm like, I'm really just taking a chance here that it is what it says. It is.
Rock and roll. Chicken wings. Why is this one kind of webbed? It's a webbed chicken. It's new. It's from who knows.
Yeah.
Don't they have frog legs right now for Food and Wine, or is that escargot outside? That's escargot, I think.
I didn't hear about frog legs. I did see at the Halloween party. It looks like legs, but it's not. I don't remember what it was. But it's Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah, it's a chicken wing.
It doesn't look good to me.
They just kind of stretched it out. Yeah.
I don't like it.
I don't know.
It's not appetizing. I do want to try that meatball sub at Cosmic Rays, and I never want to try anything at Cosmic Rays. I mean that's just like waiting for food poisoning. But I heard it's pretty good.
During the part, is that during the party only, or is that new?
I think so. I think it's just during the party. It's a special sort of thing, but it looked pretty good, and I saw a couple of good breaking Disney news reviews on it. So
obviously,
give it a go.
Are you a party fan, or do you stay away from them?
I know I am, and I was way before I ever did any sort of social media. I used to like going to them years ago when they were really cheap. They were like, it was like $70 for a ticket, and I would use that as my park day because I go to Disney so often. I don't really need a whole day. I'd be like, all right, this is cool. I'll pay $70. I'll get in at 4 o'clock, and I'll be there until midnight, and I'd use it as a park day. But I was always a big fan of the parties.
Cool.
I like them.
Halloween or Christmas? Which one's better? We can get into that in a second, but which one's better? Which one do you like better? Very Merry or
okay? What one I like better? I like the Christmas party, but I went to it last year, and I think I a little bit on it because I went last year, and it's the same old thing, and I didn't find myself enjoying it that much, so I'm going to take a break from it this year. I'm going to go to Jollywood Nights, but
that looks amazing. By the way,
it looks like it's supposed to be like more of like an adult sort of thing. So we'll see how it goes. And I love the Muppets. I heard there's going to be some like Muppet theme going on. But now I feel like I don't know. It's kind of changed. Maybe now I'm more Halloween party because like my theory on that is that because like during the Christmas, holidays during that holiday season, there's so much stuff going on in your hometown for like the Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa holidays.
Right.
So like when you go to Disney, it's like it's not much different, but when it's the Halloween season, besides maybe like a hayride or a pumpkin patch, there's not every single day something going on Halloween themed. You can't trick or treat on a Tuesday in September. So I feel like it has a little bit more of a novelty to it as a party because it's not something that's just prevalent where you are. And so for that reason, I appreciate it a little bit more.
So I have done Not So Scary. I have done Oogie Boogie at D23 last year. Yeah, did it at D23 last year.
I hear mixed things. I hear mixed things about Oogie Boogie. I hear some people are like, it's amazing, and some people are like, I didn't get it.
So I didn't get it when it came to Oogie Boogie. I wasn't anti. It was, $100 ticket. I got into DCA a few hours early, was able to go hit Avengers Campus. I mean, it's my first time on the West Coast. It was my first time to Disneyland. It was my first time in there in any capacity, right? But it wasn't bad, but like we weren't going to go do the candy trails, right? We weren't going to go do the trick-or-treat trails. So that didn't happen. So like hanging out in Avengers Land was solid. It was cool to see like Zombie Cap, right? Out of What If. Like that was cool. Got to ride a few things, got to take advantage of the fact that like I think we read Incredicoaster at least twice, maybe 3 times.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, so
yeah.
It was cool to take advantage of that. I really don't see a lot of value in the parties, just in general, unless you're using it as a park day, like you said.
Bingo was his name because you just said like I rode Incredicoaster twice, and you're not somebody that always goes to Disneyland, so it's like that's how I kind of felt like when I was going less than I am now. like I liked that I could use it as a park day, and then like I wouldn't have to worry about, oh, I'm going to wait in 2 hour lines. I can just get on everything I want to get on. And I kind of did ride the rides mostly as like my plan,
Yeah,
as
yeah,
opposed to,
I,
I didn't care about meeting the seven dwarfs.
no, and that's where I'm at. Like, I know a lot of people like to go and they like to spend $200 and they like to spend 2 hours of the 5 hours you have standing in line meeting Oogie Boogie or the Seven Dwarves or the whatever. Again, it's what you love. Do your thing. But for me, the value's not there. Even more so traveling with a family where $179 times 4 sucks. Because you know what I'd rather spend $1,000 on? I don't know, a meal and then my wife and I going to Bull and Bear. Like, that's what I would rather do because the experience for me is better. But again, to each their own. I did Very Merry, and I can't say that I did it well because it was one of the first parties. It was 2019. It was the weekend that Galaxy's Edge opened, and it was myself, everyone else from Dis and That, and about 11 other vloggers that all got together at that party, and we didn't do anything. We just hung out. Like, that was it. Like, it was, I happened to fly in that day. They were at the party. So I went. Like, that's all it was. So it was awesome in that capacity, but we didn't take advantage of anything. We watched the new show. We watched the parade, which I think that parade is the best parade at the Magic Kingdom.
It's stunning that
it is.
That parade is incredible. But so is I think the Halloween one is good too. But that if you're not in the Christmas,
did I say Very Merry? I'm sorry, I meant Not So Scary. Not So Scary parade is fantastic. Out of this world.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's called, I mean, it's called the Boo to You. Yeah. Boo to You.
They do.
Sounds like I'm saying something nasty to you when I say it's the Boo to You.
It's the Boo to You.
It's really aggressive.
Yeah,
it's phenomenal. I mean, like those, like the guys with the graveyard guys.
Yeah, the grave diggers.
The grave diggers are phenomenal. Even the ghosts from the Haunted Mansion, the way they have them like dancing from the dining room. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah.
But I also think with the Christmas party, like I think the toy soldiers are incredible. Like I'm just like, that's worth it for me. But after a while, you can get a little burnt out on it.
Yeah, it's a value thing for me. I'm interested to see how Jollywood Nights goes because I really think the whole like we're turning Brown Derby into a jazz lounge could be super cool.
I mean, and that's my favorite restaurant. Like
it's really good.
I'm so excited for that. Like I just I don't want I'm so torn between like spoiler because I'm going right after Thanksgiving.
Right.
But I think it starts in the middle of the month, so I don't want to be like too spoiled, but it's gonna happen.
So I actually listened to the Get Spoiled or Not episode a bit today. I didn't listen to the whole thing. Listen to a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
I would highly recommend with this, and it's just me, because of an investment standpoint, that's a reasonable amount of money. I would be spoiled so that you know exactly what you want to do. So if it's something you want to spend 20 minutes on, cool. But if it's something you want to get there early and spend an hour there, now you know. And knowing's half the battle. G.I. Joe. Just saying.
Right. And I'm so happy to be in a podcast where G.I. Joe is quoted. Thank you for that.
Obviously.
That's never happened to me before. That's
here.
You're talking about, we did an episode of my podcast where I was saying I used to be someone that spoiled everything, but then like with Cosmic Rewind and Tron, I kind of didn't spoil it, and I'm glad I didn't. But I agree with you. The reason why I used to spoil things is because I was wanting to be careful with my time.
Yeah.
Because some things you don't spoil, then you're like, if you don't spoil the Halloween party, if you've never been and you get in the line for Jack and Sally and it's 4 hours and the party's only 5 hours, a lot of money to meet just 2 characters, and it's not a smart way to plan your party stuff. So yeah, I agree with you. I got to spoil it a little bit.
It's So I got an interesting take on this, right? Because I want to experience a ride myself, right? But
Yeah.
I tried to not watch Rise of the Resistance when it opened. But I love Star Wars so much and wanted to see what was going on. I wanted to see it. Like, I was so invested in that. I wanted to. But video did it no justice whatsoever.
No,
and I think
it doesn't.
I think with a lot of rides, that's how it works. I think with experiences, you need to look at it from a holistic standpoint for your entire trip. And again, can I mitigate making a mistake? Can I
Right.
can I look at the fact that this is what people are doing at take Jollywood Nights when it comes out? I watched a live stream. They went and did everything. It didn't work out really well because they didn't plan well enough. Okay, cool. I'm a nerd when it comes to planning. I have Excel spreadsheets.
Me too.
And I use touring plans like it's going out of style. You a touring plans fan?
I used to be. Yeah. Before I started, I feel like I'm on a different path right now, but I used to be. Yeah.
Right. I think their app is fantastic because when you're there, you can actually see real wait times, which is the reason I pay $15 a year, because I pay $15 a month to not watch Netflix. So I can pay $15 a year to support touring plans. At any rate, besides the point.
Yeah.
My point is that if I'm going to spend $179 per person for a family of 4 to go to a party, I'm making sure we do everything in the right order. Don't care. Kids can say, I want to go ride that. I'm like, we're riding it in 28.7 minutes. Chill out.
Yeah. It's not on the schedule, Johnny. No, I'm totally with you. Yeah, I agree with that.
But I mean, even if you're going alone, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, but like, I think you're putting the right distinction. It's when it comes to helping you plan your day, spoil. But like, if it's a ride that you just know you're gonna get on, like, try not, if you can, if you can not. I know that when first time I rode Cosmic Rewind and Tron, I was glad that I hadn't spoiled them.
Right.
Because I spoiled everything always, and I spoiled Rise. I spoiled all of those.
Right.
And Rise is so good. It's so good.
So good. So Cosmic Rewind, I think, is one of those things that it doesn't matter if you watch 100 videos. It does it no justice whatsoever. But at the same token, I think that if you're going, you need to watch or at least do your research to know how to get on Rise and maximize your time for that. So you get up in the morning, you try to get in the virtual queue, and frankly, then you pay $15 a person so you can ride it twice in one day when you're at Epcot. I think that's a very good use of your prep time, and you're really not spoiling anything. You're just looking at the best option and best opportunity I have. What's the opportunity cost, right? So, I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of, like, even with, like, I haven't been on Tron yet. I have watched a video of it. I actually watched a video of it. Like, I remember, like, 6 years ago, 5 years ago, in Japan, where it was like, this is never coming here. I'm watching it. Okay, cool. It's kind of like Ratatouille. Yeah. Sort of the same thing. So
yeah, I think with those rides too, it wasn't necessarily the ride that it was the queue. I think spoiling the queue, I think, gives a disservice for those, because those surprise queues, like, theme parks different than amusement parks. We're not snaking through lines. We're not just seeing the monitor up ahead. Like, it's the queues are such a huge part of the ride, and that very first time you see the Cosmic Rewind, like, what happens, like, I think it was amazing to me. And the same thing with Tron. Like, it was cool to see it without. Now I feel like every time I go on Cosmic Rewind, I'm like, this is a little long. Tron is cool because the queue is not, like, as involved. But now I know the shtick. and I'm over it. I just want to get like that's how I feel about Rock and Roller Coaster. Like I rarely go on Rock and Roller Coaster because I'm so tired of the queue. I can't hear it one more time.
Right.
I'm
What about
scream.
some backstage passes? Yeah, all right.
That sounds like a great idea. I'm like, no, it doesn't. It would be really great if you would stop talking.
That was like shot in '94. Like it's that old.
Yeah. I was one of the first people to ride that ride. The time
Really?
when I rode it, yeah, I thought it was so incredible.
Mhm.
Like I was like, my mind was blown. But yeah, then it just after a while, I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm good now.
Yeah. No, I enjoy it. Again, we're kind of like once a year travelers. So my daughter and I are friends. So we do our thing in the morning, get stuff done with the family, and then we run that way, right? Like I'll find a lightning lane for it, and we'll go. She and I will go over and do that.
How long do you guys go for?
About 10 days normally.
Okay.
So that kind of varies. Sometimes we try to go for a little bit more, but like I said, my wife.
Do you just do Disney, or are you doing other things in the Orlando area?
Just Disney. We'll do 8 or 9 days.
Just Disney.
Parks. Yeah.
All right.
We kind of, but we kind of roll like this, right? Like we do 3 Magic Kingdom days. We do the day that we get there, and we take a quarter or a third of the park, right? So, the plan is to go in and get X, right? So we hit Jungle Cruise. We hit, before. I mean, it's not Splash Mountain anymore. We did Jungle Cruise, Splash Mountain, Big Thunder. Go back to Pirates. Probably hit Haunted Mansion and maybe Small World, and that's our morning, and then we're done. And then we go to the best restaurant at Magic Kingdom, which is Kona or Steakhouse 71.
What about Skipper Canteen?
Love Skipper Canteen, but we usually save that for later in the trip. We make an actual ADR for that.
Okay.
So I'm not anti. I just make this joke, and the thing was that Skipper Canteen was on and then off for a very long time. It wasn't great, and now it's back.
Yeah.
It's really good, and we really do enjoy going to Skipper Canteen. But that first day we're normally out of the parks by noon.
Yeah.
And then we go.
Right, and you. I can tell by your background, you guys always stay at the Poly, or
no, we don't. We usually stay. We usually rent DVC points. Sometimes at the Poly. Saratoga, a lot. We love staying at Yacht Club, but now it's just completely ridiculously expensive for that amount of time. So we'll rent points. I think we're looking to do Boardwalk next year. So that area though, we like being in the Epcot Epcot Resort area. So we like that, but we what we'll end up doing is going to Kona for lunch or Steakhouse 71 for lunch, monorail it around, and basically rope drop Enchanted Rose and just sit there and hang out at the Grand Flow for a couple hours. And
rope drop Enchanted Rose.
Love it.
I love the Enchanted Rose. I love that outdoor area of it too. Yeah, I love the whole thing. Yeah, it's a good place.
I'm so mad about the Enchanted Rose. Like, it's growing on me, and I enjoy it. And I think they did a great job with it. I hate the fact that it's a $23 old fashioned, but I loved Misner's. Did you ever go to Misner's before?
Yes.
Yeah. It was such a hole in the wall and such a hidden gem. Like we would go there. And this is when my kids were younger, so we would really need them to take a nap. So we would go to the Grand Flow after going to Kona, because at that point Kona was great. Ohana was too expensive, but it wasn't open for lunch. And we would do Ohana for dinner later, right?
Yeah.
And there really wasn't anything crazy at the Contemporary, and Grand Flow Cafe was always hit or miss. So we would go to Kona, then we would hop on the monorail, and we would go to Grand Flow, and that little nook that was up by that shop that was right next to, like, the men's shop with the ties and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right next to Misner's, there was a little like cove or nook right there with some couches, and we would just go sit there with the kids, and they would fall asleep. And my wife and I'd walk in, like, they made a hell of a dirty martini, and I would get a Manhattan, and she and I would sit there and have 2 drinks in the afternoon, let them sleep, and then we were good to go. We'd go back to the parks.
Oh yeah, it's your vacation too. That sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, it was fantastic. But now with Enchanted Rose, I mean, it's nowhere near as ooh, everyone's got to go there, like especially at 3:30 in the afternoon. But
Yeah.
but it's
I like
solid.
it. I think it's pretty,
I,
but I'm kind of resentful of Grand Floridian since they got rid of the orchestra. I'm just like,
yeah, right.
I'm really annoyed at them. I want like that's a mistake.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
think.
It was
Yeah.
fantastic to go there in the evening, listen to the orchestra, just hang out in the lobby, do whatever. It was one of those spots that gave you old school I'm finally at Disney feels. Like if you
Yep.
wanted to go there, whether it was your first night or seventh night, it didn't matter. You walked in and you're like, damn, this is it.
Yeah,
Um,
and it was magical. Like it's
yeah,
like
100%.
that's hard to find now. Like those
Yeah,
little extras that are very specific to Disney.
yeah.
So I'm a little disappointed at that. Maybe, well, who knows? Maybe in the future it'll be back.
Yeah, maybe they bring it back. I mean, my big thing with with what's going on at Disney right now, and it was kind of a Chapek era thing, and frankly, it was the end of Iger's term as
Hmm.
well. Is that eh, I always loved Disney as the spot that made everything like set the bar, right? I love the fact that
Yeah,
Disney didn't nickel and dime you. I love the fact that I knew what I was paying for, and even though it was expensive, I knew that I wasn't going to go there and have to pay $23 for parking, and I wasn't going to go there and they weren't going to charge me for Lightning Lane like Universal did. I wanted to get inside the bubble. I wanted to be there, shut off, not deal with work, not deal with whatever, just for those however many days I'm there, be at Disney. And now it makes me think too damn much. And don't get me wrong, I don't mind it because I'm a planner and I'll execute, right? Like that's what I do. But it's so frustrating to me that Disney, instead of setting the bar, is regressing to the mean. They said Universal can do that, so we're gonna do it too. Boop, boop, boop. Knock that notch down. The one that set me off was parking. It's like, are you
mm,
freaking kidding me?
yeah.
Why? And that was
That
the
was
first one. Yeah.
that was upsetting. It was upsetting because it was like so. It was such a like really like if
It
you
was a
need to like make money and like just like amp up the resort fee a little
blatant
bit, but like
blatant money grab.
that felt icky.
Blatant. Yeah, it
Yeah.
did. It felt like some uncle who owned a a used car dealership came over and said, "Hey, I think that we should do this." And it's like, "All right, fine." And it's like, it's stupid. It's absolutely
Yeah.
stupid. You went from being the place that everyone knew that I'm writing you a check. You don't write a check anymore, but I'm giving you my money.
Yeah.
I have expectations of you being the best that's out there. And don't get me wrong, I know it's not freaking Michelin star food, and it's not a true 5-star resort. I get it, but I know what I'm buying when I buy it. Now
Hmm.
I don't because I get there and the tickets are still $127 each. And now you're expecting me to pay $27 a person for Lightning Lane
Yeah.
plus individual Lightning Lanes at Magic Kingdom. And you are freaking crazy if you
Yeah.
think I'm going to do that on purpose.
Yeah, it felt. I think like when people would be like, "Oh, if you're a Disney adult, like, and you're still going when they're doing, you don't think it's you're supporting it. You're not like taking a stand, and you're not voting with your dollars." But I was someone who felt like I couldn't even defend it. Like I'd have people say to me like, "Oh, they're charging for parking, and it's isn't Disney's just evil corporation?" And I'd be
Yeah.
like, "Yeah." I don't have a defense for it. It's
Yeah.
like
Well,
and everything is relative, like you said, to who's like in charge in that era. I don't think
yep.
it's solely the CEO, but it's who people, and they're
Yep.
like they did kind of shy away from what it was supposed to be or how you're supposed to feel when you're there. They sort of said like, we don't care, like we're here to make money, and it's like
Yeah.
that kind of you know
Well,
look, I think it's going to affect them in the future. I
I
think it's going
agree.
to affect them. I think even the things that they did now, you'll see happen. You'll see like ripples of it in the future, because there'll be people that their children won't be people that go to Disney,
Right.
like it's penny wise and pound foolish. It wasn't
100%.
a smart decision, any
It
of
was
that.
we want to make our numbers for our 90-day life right now, because that's all we care about is quarterly earnings. And it really
Yeah.
sucked. Like, here's my thing. Yes, they are a business and they're there to make money. And I'm okay with that, because I'm paying them money and getting something in return that I find valuable. No one else has to like what I like. This goes back to the
Yeah.
whole, like, if you want to buy 100 lounge flies, go for it. It's all you. It's your money. You earned it. Do your thing.
Mhm.
But my thing with Disney is that they have now gotten to a point where, frankly, it is too expensive for anyone who makes even a realistically reasonable wage, right? Like, there are people that go, like, we're fortunate enough to be able to go sometimes multiple times a year, at least every year. And I know that my budget every year is going to be 10 grand. It's
Mhm.
just going to be that. But again, I've chosen to do that. Cool. So that's fine. But what I get for that is nowhere. And frankly, if I didn't have to spend that much money, I wouldn't. But what I end up doing is trying to mitigate as much of that as possible. I rent points so that we can pay. Like, I paid $2,400 for 10 nights at Saratoga Springs last year. That's
Right.
fantastic.
That's great.
That's
That's insane.
that's a great deal. We get food delivered from Walmart so that we have breakfast there. We have snacks there, and frankly, I think we eat 2 or 3 meals there anyways. We look at the fact that if we are at Saratoga Springs and we're close to Springs, we'll go and eat, Blaze Pizza, which costs our family, if we really only got 3 pizzas and split it, like, that's probably enough pizza for 3 of us, or for 4 of us, to be honest. That's like $40 instead of $85 or $125 at another restaurant. So we don't do that all the time. We have our favorites. We're very penny conscious, and we're still spending a boatload of money to go there.
Mhm.
And we're not getting out of it what we did 5 years ago. Again,
Yeah.
it's all about value for me. It's all about value. It's always about value. And I know I'm
You,
spending money. It's just it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, you brought up a good point. Like, I don't know if you saw that TikTok that went around a couple of months ago. Someone who showed you like what she spent in a day at Hollywood
Yeah.
Studios, and it was like
Mhm.
$3,000 in a day. And I saw all these like YouTubers making people that were, they made their typical like Disney adults are crazy video, and they
Right.
used that TikTok as like, look at what they do. This is, and
Yeah.
I so badly want to respond to that and be like, an actual Disney adult does not do that,
Nope.
because we know how to do things in the most economic way possible. We would never spend $600 at Planet Hollywood. Like it would, the
I
things that were
watched that
happening in that
video.
video.
Oh, I
Yeah.
watched that video and threw up in my mouth like 3 times. I'm like, who didn't you talk to? And the suck part is, like, and don't get me wrong, I know I am over the top. I understand that. I understand that I plan beyond whatever. But here's my conversation with anyone that is going to Disney. Look, you're going on vacation and you know that you're going to spend $6,000 on this vacation. If you were making a $6,000 investment in anything else in your life, what would you do? And they're like, "Oh, I do a ton of research on it and I'd figure out the best value for my money." Well, then what the hell are you doing just thinking you can show up and you're going to get everything you want?
Yeah.
What's a vacation? Well, no shit. So what? Be an adult. Go look on the internet. We have this thing. If you haven't heard of it, it's called Google. You can type into it all kinds of random phrases and it will give
Yeah.
you information about what you need to do. Holy hell. It
And we have a plethora of people that will tell you what to do on many different platforms. There's nothing but YouTube YouTube ways to like save money. Like I don't like I yeah, it's any trip you go on, you need to do research. I mean, like my family just came back from 2 weeks in Alaska, and like my dad planned that trip, but he was planning that for a year and working with a travel agent, and like like it's not, you don't just show up somewhere, and that's insane.
It's insane to me that people think that Disney is the place to go and just show up. Like, if someone's going to Europe because of other things, and I think this is kind of the issue. If you go to Europe, right, you have to get a passport. You have to do certain things to make sure that you can go there. So you put a little more time, a little more effort, and then you actually look at where you're going to go. Disney people just seem, it's an amusement park. It's like going to Kennywood. Right? It's like going to Coney Island.
See, that's the thing, is that's what they think. They think they're like, why should I have to plan? It's an amusement park. It's like, it's not an amusement park.
Nope.
It's a theme park, and it's a resort, and it's a vacation. It's not Kennywood. It's not Six Flags. It's you have to be prepared. I can't imagine like the amount of things I know about a Disney day. I'm like, if I'd never been before, how like it would seem like the first time that I went on the New York City subway system, and like how to navigate that. It's on par with that. It is not an easy thing to navigate.
Most people are afraid to go to New York City, so they're going to spend a ton of time figuring out whether or not they're going to be able to use the subway to get from point A to point B where they're going. And they're going to have it before, you'd have it written down on a piece of paper. Now you have it in your phone and you're trying to figure it out. So like, why don't you take that same energy when you're planning a Disney vacation? Well, because it's an amusement park. Cool. I'm spending this much money and they should help me. You don't say that when you go to Cancun and you spend $3,000 for a week.
Yeah.
You don't. You figure out the restaurants you should go eat at. And it's really funny. So I'm in sales. I was sitting down with a couple customers, and they're younger. They're in their late 20s, early 30s, and they just started families. And they're like, yeah, man, I don't know if I'll be the first. I mentioned that I'm a Disney nerd. Actually, I didn't. My other salesman that was with me did, but whatever. And they're like, yeah, I don't know. You might be first. And they're talking back and forth. And I go, listen, both of you, are you going to go? And they're like, eventually. I said, if neither of you call me, I'm going to be pissed. Like, call me, because I will save you. And not that you have to listen to me, but I will save you all of that research and just say, here's my recommendations. Do it. You know how many people are going to call me? 0.
Right.
No one does. So,
well, anyway. I have the opposite experience, Dave.
Really?
I get a lot of people that say to me, like, plan my vacation. I resent that.
Like, yeah, right.
They're like, well, you do Disney social media. Like they'll even say they'll be like, I told my friend from work to call you because Disney, and they're, like you can help them plan their trip. And I was like, no, I can give them a travel agent that they could work with.
Right.
But I'm happy. Like, I love answering specific questions. Like I'm like, please come to me with like very specific questions. But planning someone's Disney trip, that's a job. And that's why there are travel agents that do that. And they deserve all the money they get for it, because it is a job, because it's not an easy thing to advise people on.
Can I say that all travel agents that sell Disney, that promote the fact that I do it and I will help you for free, whoever started that did an absolute disservice to that industry, because it is something that definitely should be charged for, because you are putting a boatload of effort into it.
It's a lot. They do a lot of work with it, and they're like on call during people's vacations, and like, a lot of vacations things go wrong, and then it's like, it's they definitely deserve whatever commission that they get, but they should get more, because it's a lot of work.
They should charge more. I mean, and I don't know if Disney said no, you can't. Like, I understand that, I get it. booking their packages. If they say no, you can't, then you can't. But like the amount of hours that I know that people put in for a $500 commission is significantly more than what it would be hourly to do something else. So, and I know people love it and I get it. And I'm not knocking that at any means. It's like,
it doesn't equate.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Like, if you want this, cool, I will give you the standard package. But if you want me to plan what you want, I'm going to charge you an extra $280. And you know what? It's going to be the best $280 that you spend on this vacation. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Because the only thing you have at Disney is time, and you can't get it back. You've already spent the money. You might as well make sure you have a hell of a good time.
Absolutely.
So, and it's crazy. But yeah, no, like I'm with you. Like, I like the specific conversations, like no matter what. And I have some Disney nerd friends that I've met through work that, like, when they go, they call and we're like bouncing ideas back and forth. And that's awesome. And it's like, because, oh, I'm not really into it. I had a bunch of stuff going on and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, cool. Well, you should try here, here, and here. Oh, I wasn't thinking about that. And that's a real fun conversation. But it's not fun when someone walks up and says, hey, so what should I do at Disney? And it's like, I need some more information, kid. Can't compete.
I also feel like a lot of responsibility when someone says, like, tell me the must-dos. And they'll just say that sort of open-ended. And I'm like, look, something that's my must-do might not be yours. So if it's your first time going, your must-dos should be everything that you could possibly do, so then you could decide what your must-dos are for next time. Because I like things that I like, a lot of my friends don't like, or like Avatar is my favorite ride, but like my best Disney friend doesn't go on that, so it's not a must-do for her. So I can't say it's going to be a must-do for you. So it's like it's tricky giving Disney advice. I feel like I've felt lately like a sense of responsibility that it's got to be correct. And because I also don't want people to, like, something that I say, then, like, if it was God forbid wrong, they go to a cast member and they go, well, I thought drunk Distory said, and I so I'm getting a little nervous with giving advice lately.
No, I mean, I'm cool with it, and I give it. My big thing is when people ask me something completely general, it's like, so how old are your kids? Okay, male or female? They into what? Right? Like, okay, so they're into princesses. Here's what you need to do. You need to go to Magic Kingdom. You need to spend at least 2 of the 5 days you're there at Magic Kingdom, mainly just so you meet all of the princesses. And don't be afraid to take 5 different dresses with you, because no one's going to look at you weird at all, because it happens all the damn time. So it's like, I'm okay with tailoring stuff like that and giving that advice, but I can't just go from an email saying, hey, I'm going and my son's like roller coasters. Well, if that happens, go to Six Flags. Go to freaking Cedar Point, to be honest, if you like roller coasters. Disney's not that place.
Yeah, you're right. You need more specifics. Like, you need a little bit more than just, like, plan my Disney trip. That's a lot of pressure.
It's crazy. And I was a travel agent for a very short amount of time, and I couldn't do it. It was I think I'm going to do this. Then it was like, yeah, I'm definitely never going to make as much money as I want to doing this, and I would much rather just talk about it than and then have the. I have enough responsibility at work. I don't need a second like side hustle doing that. I'd rather attempt to make money making content. Like, that's just where I'm at. So
I get some people that try to recruit me they're like, oh, you should do it. I'm good. It's not for me. I like planning my own trips, but I don't think I would like planning other people's trips. So I give a lot of credit to people that do.
Like, and I give a lot of credit to people that do. I give a lot of credit to people that do travel agency correctly. I know William does it. Travel Agent William. If you want to go check him out.
My friend Travel Agent William, like encyclopedia of Disney. Like, that's why he knows it all, and he goes constantly so that he's on the ball, and that's like he's a good travel agent.
And it's World and Land. It's both. It's not just someone who specializes in Disney World. William does a great job.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Good dude. But like I would much rather just BS about it than have that extra. I have enough stress at work. I don't need the stress of your
Same.
vacation on me.
This is an outlet for me. Like
Yeah.
I get people saying that a lot. They're like, "Oh, you must want to work for Disney," or I did. I was a cast member when I did the college program back in the day.
Oh, we got to talk about that then. But continue.
I had no desire. Like, I think I left the college program assured that I had no desire to make that my life.
Yeah.
Because I went to college for hospitality, so I thought, because I love Disney so much, I'm like, oh, maybe I want to work maybe I want to be a hotel manager in like a big resort, like either in Orlando or even in Vegas, like one of those big ones. And then I did the college program, and then I did a bunch of like shadowing of and I like the way that the managers that I worked for, like, they were treated. And then, like, you work every holiday, you work every weekend, and I was just like, I don't think it's the life for me. The hours, like, you're working, like, when I worked at Hollywood Studios. I worked at the ABC commissary. That's where I was stationed up.
Sweet.
Yeah, real exciting place. But it was at that time. This was in the like the the parks were open late. They were open till like midnight. Even Hollywood Studios was open like really late. And so I wouldn't get home until like 1 or 2 in the morning, and then my shift would be at like 3. So it was just it was a very arduous life where I was like, yeah, that's not for me. But I did love like where you walk in when you work at ABC commissary. Like, I'd walk in right by Star Tours, and it was so cool. Like, I'd always like stop and take in the moment, and I'm hearing the Star Wars music, and I loved that. Like, that was that's my best memory, is just like like if I had a morning shift, like being in there when there was no one there, and just like walking past the AT-AT, whatever it is, and just be like hearing the Star Wars music. Like, that was a cool experience. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a lot of work though, and it's a lot of pressure, a lot of like, you have to be perfect because people spend a lot of money on their vacations, so they want the best people to be working there and treating the guests right.
Yeah, and that's 100%. Like, as I feel everyone should, I have done my time in the service industry.
Yeah,
I love it. I absolutely love it.
You have to, right? It gives you
perspective.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. My nice little office job is very different.
Yeah. To quote Daniel Tosh, your ranch dressing isn't that important, and I took the swear words out.
Yes.
But
what happened to that guy?
Tosh?
Yeah.
He's still around.
He's still doing stuff? I haven't heard him in a long time.
I think he made his money, and he's taking a break.
He deserves it. He was 100%. Really funny back in the day. I haven't seen him in a long time, but
dude, I saw him in 2006, right before he blew up. Like, right after his Comedy Central special came out. It was my 26th birthday. He happened to be live at the Improv in Pittsburgh.
Oh, nice.
And thank God I had listened to his CD a couple times, because otherwise you couldn't hear shit, dude. It was so loud. People were laughing. It was raucous, man. And then Tosh.0 and all of that. And it was funny to go see Daniel Tosh. Be able to say you went and see Daniel Tosh for like $22, when the next time he came through Pittsburgh, it was like $85 and your nosebleed. And that was in 2007.
Yeah.
Like, it was crazy.
Yeah, he really blew up at that time.
Oh, he's hilarious. At any rate, my retirement plan is Jungle Cruise skipper. Just saying.
Okay. I mean, I always get secondhand embarrassment. It's tough for me to ride Jungle Cruise as someone that did stand-up comedy.
Right.
I know, like, these people have this, like, they've got these jokes, and then so I feel like I always feel very I'm always laughing a lot. I always get on a boat where there's just people are just like not enjoying it or getting it, and I'm just like,
right.
I just start laughing really loud, because I'm like, come on, it's tough. It's tough to be on this boat, like, making 100%. This Python joke for the 100th time in a day, and nobody's getting it.
I just love the fact, and I mean, don't get me wrong, it's 100% shtick and it's dry, and that's what it's supposed to be. I just love the fact that it has continued to evolve and jokes continue to be written and then get passed between the skippers, right? Like, I enjoy that, and I understand what you're saying, because it's like it has to like strike a chord with you of like bombing, like the
Yeah.
exact same thing, right?
Oh
And
yeah, it's the same thing.
I can't even
And yeah,
imagine. I can't.
it's tough. The
Uh,
the the highs and lows is the most intense high. Like when you do well, it's the most intense. Like it's hard to come down from that, like that high of, like, having the crowd. But when you bomb, it's the same thing in reverse. It's like you can't sleep the whole night. You're just like,
right.
wow, I should just jump. Like
Yeah, right.
it's really it's a dark place you go to, because it hurts.
Can't I can't imagine. And this is like, I never ever got to a point where I really wanted to do it. But stand up, I've been a fan of stand up forever. Just
Mm,
forever. I I feel that I'm a relatively entertaining guy who can connect with people. I've thought about doing it in the past, but living in central Pennsylvania where there's no real outlet for it unless you go to a city was always tough. Not gonna do it.
sure.
But it is it I can't imagine. And again, you look at you look at the playing field now, right? And
Mm,
I don't mean that from a stand-up point. Like, stand-up was always enigmatic for anyone who wanted to get into it, unless you were in it, unless you were in a city that had a stand-up scene, right? You didn't really know much about it. It just looked really cool and you could tell jokes. And it's like, I'm gonna write a joke and everyone's gonna love it. That's cool. But you didn't know that. Well, it's really interesting now. And you look at the popularity of Rogan's podcast. You look at Two Bears One Cave. You look at all these comedians who have podcasts who are now talking about behind the scenes. So you get this, like, at least for me, it's super interesting. Even though I never did stand up, it's
yeah.
really interesting for me to hear stories of, like, I bombed at X. I remember doing X at what, like, it's crazy. So not that I know by any means, and I'm not getting to that
Yeah.
point, but like, you I feel like the public, if you listen to a Rogan or a Segura, or any of those podcasts, you get this. You kind of understand that it's not just telling jokes. It's a whole, like, it's committing your entire life 100% to it if you really want to. It's You have to have passion for entertaining people, and it's
Yeah.
beyond just being funny. It's being entertaining, right? Um
Yeah.
and in something, and as a female comedian in that realm at the time that
Mhm.
you were doing it, I can't imagine what you were up against just to try to get 15 minutes in New York City. Like,
Yeah.
crazy to me to think about that.
I mean, the one thing that's good about New York City is that, like you had mentioned, where you live and it being a little different. I mean, like, it's at your fingertips. Like there's
Mhm.
a million coffee houses and backs of bars that are having open mics, so you can get up, and open mics are open to everybody. It's difficult, to 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 get past that step, and then get on those type of shows where you're actually being paid. You spend a lot of time doing it, not being paid,
Mhm.
and and it, so I mean, I think I have a little bit of a different experience because of where I lived. It's pretty, it's was open to me to up and do stand
Mhm.
up. And then
Yeah.
once I started to do it, I by that point made a lot of friends. So I had I had people that would put me on shows, and I hosted shows myself. So, and that's kind of what you do as a stand-up. You know, like you have a show, someone else, you put each other on your shows, and
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a give and a take. But it's a lot of fun though. It's a lot of fun. It's one of the if you could do that for your life, I could see it being a lot of fun. But I could also see the downside is that like it's the same thing I was talking about working for Disney. It's not a regular not it's not a regular life, you know. Your weekends and your nights are taken up by this. So it's
It's
sacrifice.
100%. So do you feel that experience, um did you translate a lot of that to TikTok when you started creating there? Like, and we haven't really touched on TikTok yet. We talked about the podcast early, but did TikTok come after? Did it come before? What really, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I think that, and personally, I feel that as someone who has done stand up, short form vertical content, whether it's Reels, TikTok, whatever, I feel that lends itself to someone who can do very well writing that bit. So,
Yeah.
how did that translate for you? Or did it at all, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. I think everything in life is a building block for the next thing. And you know, like when I did stand up, I learned how to craft a joke. I music, it's like doing math. There's a rhythm to it, and I learned how to do that. And I loved that. I because it was like this. It's so satisfying to like find a like if you have a premise to find the punchline. Like when you find it, it's so satisfying. So I loved that. I loved writing. And then when I stopped doing stand up, I wasn't really using that as much. You know, so my podcast, but before that, I was doing like a couple of characters that I had that were just weird characters. I had a character called It's Your Dad, and it was just like I used an old man filter, and I
Yeah.
was just playing a dad that like you know got like was getting a phone call from his daughter asking technology questions. I'm not saying that was inspired by anybody, but it might
Or
have
your
been.
dad, right?
And
Yeah.
and I loved and like and then I had another character called Miss Loretta that was like we went very older with the people that I did. And then like we had our podcast and I was still just doing those characters and that was what my channel was at first. I was like the first time I didn't start TikTok in 2020 with everybody else.
Right.
I started in 2021. I've only been on TikTok for 2 years. And I I was like, well, we had the podcast. I was like, well, what if I just made some Disney content? And then that stuck. That took off.
Mhm.
So then I just stuck with it. But yeah, it definitely helps. And I love now I used to do a lot more of like the audio stuff on TikTok where you like dub yourself to the
Mhm.
audio. Um and that was fine. That was fun. It's easy. It doesn't require like too much prep. But
Right.
in the last year or so I've just been like writing scripts, like writing my own material and I love that I can exercise that sort of joke writing
Yeah.
part. I do this thing that people like. It's the meeting of the Disney parks, and I play each Disney park as a character. They take about 5 hours of writing and about 6 hours of filming because
That's
I
crazy.
film each character. Yeah, so but I love it. I haven't done it over the summer because it's hard to film in a studio apartment with no air conditioning on. So
Right.
I keep telling everyone I'll pick it back up in the fall once I don't have to run my air conditioner. But I love I love joke writing. I love writing anything sort of funny. And now I know that I love writing dialogue. But I wouldn't probably be able to do that if I didn't have the stand up background.
Right.
Or I maybe, but it would just take taken a lot longer.
Yeah, it's I agree with you on the everything's a building block for
Yeah.
everything else. And you don't realize it. Like it's crazy because you're like, why am I stuck at this spot?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and it's that's a pretty encouraging thing because it's like nothing ever is a waste then because it
right.
you know I did stand up for 5 years and a lot of people are like you know do you miss it and I was like sometimes but I learned a lot from it and I'm just now on to the
Yeah.
next thing
Yeah.
you know but I learned so much from it and I'm using it in another capacity and then this thing I learned with the vertical video content who
Mhm.
knows what I could use for that in the future, and it's all like just, you know, chapter, and we move on. Who
Yeah,
knows what's next? We don't know what the next platform is. It's gonna be something wild.
Dude, the platform's irrelevant. It's being able to connect with people and
Sure.
however that is. And you know, it's really interesting to have this conversation because I do well reading a script.
Mm-hmm.
I do well in this capacity, talking to people in however it is, right? I'm good conversationally.
Mm-hmm.
If you asked me to write a skit like you were shooting, right, with multiple parks talking to each other, right, as the parks, dude, I would come off so unpolished, so uncommunicative. It would be so bad. So bad. I can tell you this
We don't know.
for sure. What's that?
You don't know that.
I don't, but I do. Because some of that stuff comes up, you know, in other aspects. But like let me rephrase. I would be so bad now. If I actually put time into it, different story. But like it's very interesting that there's room for all of this in the same niche.
Yeah.
And unlike a lot of people think, you look at TikTok, you look at YouTube, you look at any of the social media stuff just in general, the
Yeah.
possibilities are abundant, right? Like people aren't taking from you because they're watching someone else at the same time. That doesn't mean they aren't watching your content. And
Right.
you know, the whole stuff is saturated. And I mean, you look at stand up could be the official one thing that is always saturated. Yet it's never saturated because someone else comes out. And I don't want to necessarily mean I don't mean this by pushing boundaries from a this is just so crazy. Like, and again, if I take a liberty here, shut me down. But just because I don't know stand up, crowd work is a thing. It's kind of always been a thing,
Yeah.
right? Matt
Sure.
Rife has made his career on filming crowd work and putting it on TikTok.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
People would think that crowd work was like the lowest form of stand-up because you weren't writing anything. Am I wrong with that? Previously, 10 years ago.
I think I have a lot of respect for crowd work. I mean, like, I was a writer. I wrote my
Right.
jokes, and
Mhm.
crowd work is like, you know, Todd Barry is the king of crowd work. Like it's
Right.
a tough skill.
Yeah.
Mad respect for anybody that's really good at crowd work.
And again, I'm not saying that it's 100% respectful. I'm just saying it's like I don't remember, and I'm just saying this from a fan more so than someone who's been in it. I can't tell you the last time I saw someone put out a video of crowd work and it's enjoyable outside of the moment that you're there. Somehow, some way,
Todd Barry has a special called the Crowd Work Tour hour on crowd work.
Right.
And you're always trying to build that hour to do, like, you know, and yeah, you have to have material.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't know. I'm talking in circles here. Let me go.
No, you're good. It's all right. You're good. I'm following.
But it's kind of the same thing with TikTok, right? Like if you can write your own content instead of follow the I'm going to find a sound, find that it's trending, utilize it in my niche and put it out there. That might be the best opportunity for short-term growth, but long-term growth, it's better about building your brand as Drunk Distory as opposed to I'm just going to do CapCut segments, right? I mean, and I think
Right.
have
Well,
a leg up.
CapCut is basically a meme. That's a meme.
Right.
That's sort of like a meme. It's just a live meme. Yeah, and I think the only rule I have for myself with my TikTok is I want to be proud of it. And
Right.
so it's like, if I could look, even if a video doesn't do well, and I don't know, I don't have like a account where like everything I do, you know, I've actually, which I say this to people, which is they find it hard to believe, I've never had a video go viral.
Right.
And everyone I know has. I've
Mhm.
never had a video get over 350,000 views. Like that's the highest I've ever. Like I, I like so I'm okay with it not going viral. I want to be able to look back on it and be like, I'm happy that that's on my page.
Mhm.
And I feel like when I started to move away from the audios, I was more happy with what was on my page, as opposed
Yeah.
to being like, you know, I just did that audio and then I saw 10 other people use that same audio and write that same title. I kind of would be like, I want to be, don't want to be the same as everybody else.
Right. Yeah, I'm 100% with you. It's interesting because that whole uh chasing the dragon of going viral, all it is a
Mm,
quick fix because you don't really win. You get a bunch of followers that then probably don't watch your stuff and eventually unfollow. You're really not building a brand. And I've been a huge proponent of being the person that is genuine and building something that people are going to care about, because 10,000 people that watch you and love you regularly is worth much more
mm.
than a million people that followed you because of one video.
Oh, 100%. Also, being a Disney adult and having a
Mhm.
video go viral and moving off the niche, like going to
Yeah.
the FYP that is not a Disney community,
Mhm.
that's scary, you know,
Yeah.
because that's
Super
where you
hard.
start getting like, I don't have like, I don't get like hate comments.
Right.
And I think as whatever I'm doing it stays on the Disney side of TikTok, and I'm happy with that because
Right.
I don't want to do this and then start getting the like, Disney adults are
Yeah.
cringe. It's like that takes the fun out of it a little bit. Like
So,
I want it to be seen by people who actually care about it.
right. So it's funny. So I started getting a little bit of that on YouTube because I started
Okay.
doing a lot of shorts, and
Yeah.
obviously Disney's been in the news recently with what is going on from a social aspect, right?
Yeah.
And I never really got them until I started doing shorts. And the funny thing is, I'm pretty sure it's all bots, and they're probably from Russia, but I'm not 100% sure. But it's like uh, a video of an elephant at Animal Kingdom, and just because I tagged it Disney, it's like Disney is grooming, and I'm like, this is an elephant.
Yeah.
What are we grooming? The elephant
Yeah.
or what? And it's interesting that it's never come through before. And honestly, as we move into an election year in 2024, I only see it getting worse. Um, thanks to the Chapek DeSantis kerfuffle, I guess is a good way to put it.
Sure.
Um, and I it's been pretty interesting as an as a Disney adult, um, looking at some of these decisions that are made that are outside of uh, out of our hands, right? Like, I'm a Disney parks fan. I'm not necessarily a Disney fan. I like going to the parks. I really like Star Wars. I kind of got into Marvel. I have a daughter. She likes the princesses. Cool. It's kind of it. I don't think Disney is an entity, is be all end all perfect.
Right. I'm the same. I'm a Disney Parks
Eh,
fan.
yeah.
I actually I like Star Wars. I don't love I'm not, you know, like over the top about it. I'm not a Marvel fan. I'm not an action movie person. And I haven't seen a lot of lot of Disney movies that are popular. I haven't seen
Oh
like
yeah.
Lilo and Stitch. I don't like have a desire to come home and put on Disney movies, and I don't have my apartment isn't decked out in Disney stuff.
Right.
But you know, I'm a Disney adult by the definition that society's given me because I vacation in Disney. But yeah, I don't
Right.
agree with a lot of the decisions. I don't think it's a company that cares about me. Like I'm not on
No.
that level. And I'm like, you know, Disney loves me. No, they don't. I love their theme parks, and I choose like
Yeah.
to spend my time there. That's it.
And that's where I'm at. Like, I'm a huge fan of going to the parks. Um, I we actually went through on Dis and That not long ago. Um, like our quote unquote top 10 animated films. And like we're going through it and people are
Yeah.
like, you know, it's three of us. We're kind of doing a round robin, whatever. And I'm like, Lion King. Like everything was from 1994, like when I was 18. Like
Yeah.
that's it,
Yeah.
right? Like when I had a younger sister who like my parents made me go to these movies with them. And yes, okay, cool. Obviously, I have a daughter. Frozen's huge. Whatever. Cars, great. I'm going through this. People are like naming movies, and it's like Hunchback of Notre Dame. I'm like, never seen it. It's Emperor's New Groove. Never seen it. Like, I don't want to come home and watch that stuff at all.
Yeah. Same.
I'm 4 episodes behind on Ahsoka, and I'm a Star Wars nerd. One of my first memories as an adult, as a kid, is watching Star Wars at probably 3, maybe 2.5 on HBO.
Okay.
Because I remember the old school HBO thing flying around, and I remember watching
Sure.
the Star Destroyer come over, and it's one of my first memories that I have, and that is in 82 or 83. I'm that old. Yes, I'm old. But I remember that.
Yeah.
I love Star Wars. What's going on with Star Wars now? It's too much. You know, I think
Oh,
I think
there's a lot of Star Wars content.
I think Disney has played on nostalgia too much. I think they have attempted to play on nostalgia way beyond what is needed, right? Think about it. I loved Boba Fett, the character, and I thought Boba Fett's arc in the original 3 movies, which really was only 2 for him, which is Empire and Return of the Jedi, and then he dies. That's the whole point. And now we bring him back because Patton Oswalt decided to have you seen that clip on Parks and Rec where Patton Oswalt they just let him go? It was a complete ad lib, and he apparently was filibustering some local whatever. I mean, I have not watched Parks and Rec. I have seen the clip, but he's filibustering, and either he and Jon Favreau got together and said we're going to make this happen, but he basically filibustered what Boba Fett was, the first episode of the Book of Boba Fett, where Boba Fett's hand punches out of the sand and he crawls out of the Sarlacc pit and all that stuff. Patton Oswalt wrote it 3 years before it actually happened. And I swear to God, Favreau called him and said, hey, do you care if we use this? Because it's the exact same thing. But we don't
Right.
need that. We don't need that as a Star Wars fan. It's crazy right now where Ahsoka's at. They're starting to play on the fact that there are people that are now in their early 20s who are big fans of Rebels and Clone Wars back in the day, and now we have Ahsoka here. It's just it's super odd, and as deep as they're going with nostalgia.
I don't know if is it nostalgia or is it mixed also with like a little bit of laziness, a little bit of low hanging fruit, a little bit of
Yes.
I think the reason why reboots in general are now, I mean, like look at like Sex and the City, we had that show and then we
Mhm.
had movies and now we have a whole new show based on the the movies or the show before that.
Yeah.
I think it's because it's like, well, we know people like these characters. We know people like this franchise. It's a sure bet. We know we've already got the built-in audience. We don't have to build an audience for something. The
Yeah.
audience is there. Like, and when you do something new, you've got to. It's like rolling the dice, like, you know, put a couple of dollars on black, because it's like you never know if it's going to take off. But I think, you know, Star Wars, they have a fan base. There's always going to be people that watch that. So it's like, why not just make a movie about every single character? Make a series on every single character. People will eat it up.
Yeah. Obi-Wan was a pile of trash. I will go on record. I have gone on record. It was an absolutely abysmal attempt to make a series around a character that everyone loves, and then they ruined canonical Star Wars. Whatever. Ahsoka, I'm scared. I really don't know. I haven't watched it yet. But what killed me was episode 9. Because episode 8 was okay. And then they completely changed everything going into episode 9. And it's so frustrating as someone who loves the franchise. And if Lucas was still there and started writing, even inside of the universe, started writing new material, right? Like a different story, instead of just sticking with the characters that everyone knows. I think if they would have done it correctly out the gate, with an episode 7, episode 8, that was like episode 7 was basically A New Hope over again. Like, I get it from this makes sense from a canned type of storyline. I wish they would have gone down a completely different road. Like, I want the nod to Han Solo. I want the nod to Luke. And then I want to learn about new characters. And it translates into the park for me, Adriane, as that Galaxy's Edge is supposed to be between episodes 8 and 9. So we don't have Darth Vader, one of the most iconic characters in cinematic
That's my
history.
favorite. My first Vader.
Agreed. We don't have face characters of Luke and Leia. But you know when we had them? In 2015, when they had Star Wars weekends. Did you attend Star Wars weekends ever?
I did not, no.
Okay. I was lucky. We were lucky enough to go once, just because it overlapped, and my wife was out of school early enough. And it was amazing. But they used to not take Star Wars so seriously, and had a dance party. You've seen the videos, I'm sure. The dance parties and all that fun stuff. It was a celebration of Star Wars in a park. Galaxy's Edge, as much as I love it, and I was there opening day, and I still to this day think that they did such a fantastic job of creating an immersive experience. At this point, there's no reason there's no Darth Vader. There's none. None. Because what they hoped was to happen was 8 and 9 ended up being as popular as the original trilogy, and they screwed it up, and it's not. So people really don't care when they go there. They want it to be immersive, but they don't care if it follows a story.
Yeah, I mean, I thought when they announced like Galaxy's Edge or just a Star Wars Land in general, I thought it was. I had this like vision that it was going to be this mayhem where every weekend was going to feel like Star Wars weekend, because all these big Star Wars fans were just going to want to hang out there nonstop. Like, this is what I, in my mind, thought was going to happen. I was like, this was going to become the Star Wars fans, and it didn't happen. It didn't become this like place that like people needed to make a pilgrimage to.
Right.
And it's because of where they set it within the franchise. It's unfortunate.
It really is. I mean, it would have been cool to make a new world, and it just so happened that Darth Vader was there, and it just so happened that yada 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 yada, whoever, whatever characters you wanted. What's interesting to me is if you start to blue sky what Hollywood studios could be, and you said you were a Muppets fan, I think we take them. I think we take the Muppets out. I think we take them and we move them down to Electric Mayhem Rock and Roller Coaster.
Yep, we need that. Yes,
and do that. We take Henson 3D and we move it down to where that stupid weird Cars thing is that I've never done.
Yeah, me neither.
So I think we can make that a Muppets area. I think that'd be cool. Then we take from Star Wars Land over to Indiana Jones and we destroy it all. And we make it Star Wars 2.0. But it's just Star Wars weekends all the time.
Yeah, like let's get a little kitsch in there. Let's get a little bit of like
exactly.
Let's have fun with it. Let's not be so serious about it. Yeah. I'm down with it. As long as they keep the Muppets in the park in some capacity, I don't mind where they are.
So as a Muppets fan, same boat. I grew up watching Muppet Babies, right? Like Muppets were the thing growing up.
Yeah.
Do you think that Disney has done a disservice to Henson's memory recently with attempting like I feel like they have done the absolute worst half-assed attempt to reboot the Muppets. Am I wrong?
No, you're not. I mean, like my podcast co-host Ryan has told me that, like, in one of our episodes, that, like, you know, Disney's partnership with and kind of killed them.
Yeah,
so it's but yeah, they've done a disservice. They just don't know how to highlight it correctly. It's such a special, unique thing, and I don't know. I don't think that they're using it to the level that they could. It's such a funny, like heartwarming trope, and I feel like it's not being. I think did you ever hear what the plans really were for what Muppet Vision 3D was going to be like, and what was going to be? It's going to be so much bigger and better, and they scaled back. But I want Muppets Mayhem. I want more Muppets rides. I want Muppets stage shows. But that's just because I'm a big Muppets fan. I just love love the jokes. That's where real comedy is in the Muppets. Like that's just.
I agree.
So funny.
I really think I thought that they were going to somehow, some way take a nice little pile of tinder that was just burning enough in Magic Kingdom with the Muppet Show there in Liberty Square. I thought that they did such a good job with it. And I thought that was going to be it. I thought that they were going to find someone who could write very similar to what Henson's Muppets were. I honestly thought Jason Segel was going to be the second coming of Jim Henson. Like, I just had that feeling. And I
was hopeful too. He was such a fan. Yeah. I mean, Brian Henson, like, he directed Muppets Christmas Carol. Like, he's responsible for Muppets Christmas Carol, which in my opinion is like the top, top Muppets movie. One of my favorite Christmas movies. So I wasn't scared about the legacy of the Muppets, but when Steve Whitmire stopped voicing Kermit, I think everything that's when I don't blame Disney. I think that's when everything started tanking for the Muppets. It's like live, like do Kermit on an episode of I went when it was Kelly and Michael, when Regis and Kelly, and then it became Kelly and Michael. Like he was the guest and Kermit was the guest, and like seeing that live was one of the best experiences of my life. Like I to see Steve Whitmire like do Kermit the Frog was unbelievable.
That's awesome.
I think the Muppets themselves are actually hurting because they're just not. It's not the same.
Yeah, no.
But I agree with you. When they did the great moments in history, but only the American parts, like that's like such a so good. I wish they stuck with it. It's like, why was it temporary? Like, I don't understand why some things are just like there for like 2 months and then they're gone. And like,
it got a longer run than I expected. And I honestly thought it was just going to get folded into that because frankly, there's nothing in Liberty Square. And it was one thing to draw people to that part of the park for an extended period of time. And I think they did a pretty good job with it. Like I super enjoy it. I'm starting to see a trend that Disney gets an IP, Disney attempts to make the IP better, Disney doesn't make the IP better, and then just throws stuff up against the wall and sees what sticks. And they did that with Muppet Babies. They did that with Seagull and that whole run. And frankly, I don't think they gave that enough time. The first few episodes that were on ABC were okay. But later on, if you remember in that first season, it started like kind of like hitting its stride. Like it was relatively entertaining.
Everything needs like a grace period. Everything needs to
Yeah.
work out its kinks. You can't just be like, well, it's not perfect yet. Like you gotta just sort of
Yeah.
let things like stretch their legs a little bit, and then once they get in their groove, knows what could have happened. But they
Yeah.
can things so quickly. They're just like, no, next, it's not working. It's like,
Yeah,
I don't.
everyone does it, and it super sucks
Yeah,
because everyone wants something to be super popular in 30 days. And if you look
sure. I
back
mean, even like
at
with
go ahead.
you, like we're you have a podcast, I have a podcast. Like my co-host and I were just talking about this. We're like, ideally, like the first couple of episodes of your podcast, like they should be tracked. It takes a
Oh
little
yeah.
bit of time to like for me and Ryan. It took us, I want to say, a year for us to like actually find our rhythm
Mhm.
on the microphones, that the same cadence that we have in real life, because you're very aware of this thing.
Yeah.
Now I don't think about it, but
Yeah.
things just take a while to work out their kinks. It's very
Yep.
rare for things to like
Yeah.
right off the bat work. I mean, I even tell people that with social media when they're like, I'm doing this stuff and it's not working out. And I'm like, it's going to take a little bit to figure out what you can do here that
Yeah.
can connect with people. And your voice, finding your voice that's the same with stand up or anything. Like
Mhm.
getting in getting that voice that's authentic that people can connect to is the number one thing that everyone needs to strive for at first.
100%. And look, Adriane, it's been 2 hours. It's been a
Yeah.
great 2 hours. We'll talk.
Felt like 5 minutes, Dave.
It really it really did. But focusing on authenticity at the end of this, we're gonna end it there. If you'll hold on a second, I'm gonna shut this down. Everyone, thanks for being here. Appreciate
Sure.
you. Go and check out Adriane on everything. Drunk Distory on TikTok. It's me, Adriane, with an ADRIANE on Instagram. And make sure you check out the Dark Ride podcast on all of your favorite podcast outlets throughout the interwebs. I'm Dave. Appreciate y'all being here. Thank you. Love you all. And we'll catch you on the next episode.